deals all October and get a taste of glory at the Breeders' Cup World Championship. Plan your trip now at sandiego.org/awesome all year. Funded in part with City of San Diego Tourism Marketing District Assessment Funds.
Is this the cover?
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
The Dodgers had a very frustrating night at Dodger Stadium last night. Shohei Ohtani had a no-hitter against Philadelphia through the first 5 innings, while the Dodgers built a 4-0 lead. Because Ohtani is on the pitch count after major surgery on his right shoulder, Dodgers manager Dave Roberts replaced Ohtani after the 5th inning. A 4-0 lead turned into a 9-6 loss for the Dodgers. 3 relievers gave up 9 runs after Ohtani's departure. Dodgers fans booed Roberts when he walked to the mound to make a pitching change in the 7th. They wanted to see Ohtani make a run at a no-hitter. The only bright spot for Dodgers fans was seeing Ohtani hit his 50th homer of the season. The Angels lost in Milwaukee last night 9-2. The loss eliminated the Angels from playoff contention in the American League and dropped their record to 69-82. The Angels have not made the playoffs since 2014. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
You ready to drop this, man?
Yay.
We'll kick it from kick down.
Dance.
Drop it.
Get up and do my
I'm Tavis, Smiley. Glad to have you with us in this hour of our program. And as promised, conversation with actress Edwina Findley Dickerson, best known for her work in The Wire, and most recently her standout role as Sheila in The Residence. She's here to share her new book. It's called The World is Waiting for You. Gotta love that title. The World is Waiting for You. Embrace your calling and manifest the God dream over your life. Edwina, good to have you on. How are you today?
Thank you. I am wonderful, Tavis. How are you?
If I complained, I'd be an ingrate. I'm doing well and thrilled about the opportunity to talk to you. And I'm glad we have the hour. There's a whole lot to unpack with regard to your book and even your career for that matter. Let me just start with this. I want to make sure always that that the audience is on the same page with the guest and myself. And so I want to just start with the definition. I mentioned a moment ago, of course, the book is called The World is Waiting for You. Embrace your calling and manifest the God dream over your life. Before I go into this conversation, the first question is, define for us what you mean when you say the God dream. What is the God dream?
Sure. Well, Oprah has this wonderful quote that says, God can dream a bigger dream for you than you can dream for yourself. And that's what I call a God dream. A God dream is something that exists on a higher realm than the one that we may be aware of right now. A God dream sees you in your completed self, sees you in your highest identity. Many times we can go through life not even realizing the extent to which there's more for us, especially in times like this where there's so many obstacles and it can feel like there are so many trials. And if we merely rely on what we can physically see with our own eyes, we can get depressed, disappointed, any manner of things. But if we tap into this higher vision and actually believe that the one that created you has a plan that transcends anything you've seen, I believe that there's hope in that, there's encouragement in that, there's vision in that, there's purpose in that. And the world is waiting for you is really built on the belief that as we step into our God dream, each of us is going to light up the world in our own unique ways.
This audience knows that it's always the backstory that I love to start with. I'll get into the book as we move through this hour, but it's always the backstory that fascinates me. And so I am curious about your journey and what it was or is about your journey that led you to being the author of this particular book. So tell me more about that journey and how it ends. Not ends. It ain't over. It ain't nowhere near over. But how at this point, how it brings you to writing this particular book.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I have existed in, I'll just say, two worlds, right? I've existed in a very arts, entertainment, entertainment-based world, right? Career world, professional world. And I've also existed in a very spiritual world, in a very prophetic world, a world in which your future is prophesied in advance.
Yeah.
And so for me, a big part of the journey of writing this book has been very prophetic, has been, there's aspects of my career that were prophesied in advance, but also this book was prophesied to me in advance. And so I was filming a movie in Memphis and I was invited to a revival. And they said it's going to be a prophetic revival. And I got there and the prophet who had come from Florida just singled me out. And he said, you are about to have business in New York, California, Georgia, and the Caribbean island. You're about to receive a big contract and deal for movies and television, real estate. And you're about to know Oprah Winfrey, and you're going to write a book that's going to teach us all how to live our dreams. Within 7 days, I was at a dinner with Oprah Winfrey. On the 8th day, I was at a brunch with Oprah Winfrey. 2 months later, I was receiving an offer to film in Georgia for the Oprah Winfrey Network. And everything followed after that. New York, LA, there's so many things, real estate, so many things that he said. And now is the book, right? That had been birthed in my heart, but has now come into manifestation. That's really designed to help many others around the world tap into their dreams and manifest it both practically and spiritually so that they can see it come to fruition.
The book is called The World is Waiting for You, Embrace Your Calling and Manifest the God Dream Over Your Life. The foreword to this book is written by, speaking of actresses, Viola Davis. Viola Davis writes the foreword to the book. And Edwina said something a moment ago that I want to come to in just a second here when we continue this dialogue. She talked about that she's navigated, operated, lived in two worlds, in two spaces, one being the entertainment space, the other being a very spiritual space. I know something of that given my own journey, but I'm fascinated to ask her, and I will when we come forward, how those two worlds, how do I want to phrase this? How those two worlds have aligned for her, and or how those two worlds have collided for her. The alignment versus the collision of those two worlds. I find that fascinating. I hope she does as well, because I want to ask her about it, whether she does or not, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Hi, I'm LA City Councilmember Curran Price, inviting you to the 30th anniversary of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival, Saturday, September the 20th, from 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. We've got 4 pavilions, 3 stages of live music, plus food, fun, and a marketplace all along historic Central Avenue between MLK Boulevard and Vernon Ave. Our featured acts this year are Gregory Porter, Pancho Sanchez, and Jasmine Horn at the 30th anniversary of the Central Avenue Jazz Festival, Saturday, September 20th, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. along Central Avenue between MLK Boulevard and Vernon Avenue. Come out and bring the whole family because this legendary celebration is free. For more information, go to centralavjazzfest.com. I'm LA Councilmember Curran Price, and I absolutely approve this message.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580, connecting you with services and solutions. The Autopsy Initiative provides a second autopsy free of charge for victims' families who have lost their loved ones due to a police-related death. The services offered through the initiative include the completion of a second autopsy, disclosure of preliminary findings, and a final autopsy report. A police-related death is when an individual is harmed by police officers using deadly force, which results in an individual's death. Police-related death includes in-custody deaths, including those that arise during contact with law enforcement officers during arrest, pursuit, booking, transport, or incarceration. The Autopsy Initiative has a team of board-certified pathologists on call. An autopsy request may be completed by anyone with a close relationship with the victim, which may include the victim's spouse, partner, relative, close friend, or lawyer. To request a free second autopsy for a victim of police violence, please visit knowyourrightscamp.com. That's knowyourrightscamp.com. Then click on Autopsy, then click on Request. At KBLA, we believe in justice for victims of police violence. We say their names, and we don't black down. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Made fresh daily in Leimert Park, Los Angeles, California. You're listening to Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and Edwina Findley Dickerson, whose new book is called The World is Waiting for You. Embrace your calling and manifest the God dream over your life. In case you tuned in late, we started this hour by asking her to define the God dream, and she did that. So now we're off and running in this conversation. Before I run too fast, though, she said something a moment ago that struck me, and I wanted to get her give her a chance to sort of unpack what this really means to have navigated, to be navigating, living in two worlds, in Hollywood and entertainment spaces, and also in spiritual spaces. And I'm fascinated by whether or not over the course of your career, those worlds have more aligned or collided. You tell me, Edwina.
That is such a wonderful question. And Tavis, they've done both.
Okay.
The spiritual and Hollywood world have aligned, and they've also collided.
Tell me, tell me more. I hear both. Tell me more, and you can choose either category first. But tell me more about. Just give me an example of ways in which they've aligned, and I'm really fascinated by the ways in which they've collided.
Yeah, of course. Well, you know what? I think sometimes the collision is what leads to the alignment.
That part. Okay.
So, even going back as far as me being in university, right? I went to NYU's Tisch School of the Arts, studied drama there in New York City. And while I was in, still a teen, I was, fully training as far as the arts and entertainment. But by the time I got to college, I was also being exposed to theories that said that there is no God, that God is a social construct, that man made God in order to essentially describe that which is undescribable. And so as I'm, fully immersed in my academic career, trajectory, I'm being exposed to these theologies that are really challenging my faith. And at the time, I didn't know who to go to as far as how do I navigate both of these spaces as a young person. That continued into my early 20s when I got my first agent. Now I have this big contract on the table, but it's requiring nudity. And that was going against my convictions. And I'm like, oh God, who do I talk to about this, right? Who can help to guide me through some of these spiritual challenges that I'm having, in this landscape of entertainment? And I just heard this voice say, you create it. If there's something that you don't see, create it. And so while I was still a student, I created an organization at NYU, and I just put it in the word that I heard in my spirit was build it and they will come. And sure enough, by creating this organization that was, basically a haven for artists of faith, they just came in droves and droves and droves. And I realized that, my experience is not singular, that there are people all over. At that point, it was artists, student artists, but now, fully matriculated in the entertainment industry, I still do it, right? So I host all kinds of spiritual gatherings for entertainers, producers, directors, and it's beautiful and it's amazing. And lots of things have been prophesied behind those ballroom doors, living room doors. I've been creating lots of spiritual communities here in Hollywood. And it's funny because you'll see things in the Hollywood Reporter or Variety or Deadline announcing things that were announced spiritually months prior, right? That were foreshadowed, that were told in advance would happen. And then suddenly they come on the world stage. So, I feel like that's a part of my calling, right? This book is about embracing your God dream. And sometimes your God dream is something that you don't see coming, that you may not even know, oh, God's going to use me like that there. I didn't realize that was a part of the calling that was on my life. But slowly but surely, as he gave me different instructions, and as I followed those instructions, they began to open up doors and have me create things that I didn't even know were possible.
Yeah. I'm going to tell a story here just to make a point. I think you'll get what I'm pressing toward here. What I want to ask you about after I tell this very quick story, I want to ask you about these spiritual communities in Hollywood and how you would define or describe what these communities are actually like. And so here's the quick story, and I'll make it very quick. So years ago, and obviously it was years ago because you've been in prison for some time now, but years ago I was in a conversation with Robert Sylvester Kelly, better known as Kells, better known as R. Kelly. And I was talking to Kells in this conversation. We were talking about faith, I believe it or not. And he told me that he was once in one of these Hollywood / music industry spiritual communities that he'd been invited to come to. I know who the persons are. I'm not going to call their names, but they're very, 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 very well-known people in this industry. And they invited R. Kelly to come to one of these spiritual communities, one of these gatherings one night. And he goes, and at one point, as I recall, near the end of the gathering, they got in a prayer circle and they started praying. And he said, I could feel something. I could feel this thing. And he opens his eyes and there are multiple people filming him while he's in this prayer circle.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And it just turned him off. And he walked out and that was that. And that story came back to mind when you were talking about these spiritual communities. And I'm not raising that story as an indictment of these communities. That's not my point. My point is that there are people, at least that particular story, who get harmed oftentimes or sometimes by these spaces they find themselves in places where they happen to be, if they happen to be famous or well known, they get treated they get treated a certain way or maltreated a certain way. So that's the story. Set the story aside. That just came to mind, and so I shared it. Which leads me to ask, tell me and tell the audience about these spiritual communities that you certainly have been involved in curating, and what it's like to be in spaces with a bunch of Hollywood actors and producers and elites who are really serious about their spiritual journey. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. And I feel so sorry that he experienced that. And maybe that's what makes this unique, is the fact that it's created by people who are in entertainment and who understand and are sensitive to those pressures, or those people taking advantage of you, or just wanting to expose you because you have some form of notoriety or clout or influence, right? But what I've been cultivating alongside others has been essentially for us and by us, right? It exists to have a safe space. Right, that's the point.
Yes,
the point
yes,
is
yes.
here in this safe space, you can take your crown off.
Right.
You can take your mask off. You can take your Malono Blahniks off. Get your Louboutins off.
Yeah,
right?
I
You
got
can
you.
put that bag down.
Yeah.
You can be
put your Birkin bag down.
right. The
Yeah,
Birkin bag can
yeah.
come down. You know, your Bentley is safe outside.
Yeah, yeah.
Right. But at the end of the day, we're not any of those things. And the truth is that we need safe spaces that care about our soul, what I call soul care.
Yeah.
And so that's been a big part of my calling. You know, all over the world has been soul care. But I think because I'm also in the entertainment industry, I'm sensitized to the public / private nature of it all. Right. And the fact that so many people feel like they must maintain a certain air in public, while perhaps dying inside. And why should the person that is bleeding go to a hospital for people to film them or make a show of them or blast them on social? No, help me. I'm at the hospital so you can help me. Right? We wouldn't do that to a patient. So why do we think it's okay to do that to a celebrity or public figure? So for me, it's a very sacred calling.
Right.
And it's something that I take pretty seriously.
No, I appreciate you answering that. These spaces, to your point, ought to be sacred spaces. And when entertainers are in these spaces, they ought not to be, made to feel like they're being exploited for being in these sacred spaces. And so I appreciate, again, you answering that question. So I'm pushing into this book now. The world is waiting for you. Embrace your calling and manifest, the God dream over your life. We've already defined what God dream is. So now let me ask whether or not there is, how might I put this? Whether or not there is a divine calling, a God dream on every life.
I believe on every life. I believe on every life. And I think that that's evidence just even in simple ways by the fact that each of us is born with a gift. Each of us. Now that I'm a mom of 2 young girls, I realized I started seeing their gifts from before they were 1 year old and 2 years old, as their personalities were developing. And as they were blossoming, I started realizing, like, whoa, I didn't teach that. They came here with that. And I started being able to see the world a bit differently, that we all came with something. And so the question is, what were we supposed to do with it, with what we came with? In the book, I talk about each of us having a superpower, right? And how to tap into yours. And sometimes we diminish it because it comes so naturally to us. But other people that don't have that gift are enamored, are amazed by you. You may not realize it, but it's what makes you special and unique. And so, throughout the book, I interviewed different celebrities, I interviewed different faith leaders. And I had this wonderful interview with Dr. A.R. Bernard, the pastor of Christian Cultural Center in Brooklyn, which is the largest church in New York City.
Knowing well, yes.
Yeah. And he began to talk about your calling and essentially how what you've been called to, you were equipped to do. Right? You were already equipped to do. And sometimes you can discover your calling first and then realize, oh, I'm equipped to do exactly that. But reflexively, you can also look within and see what are the gifts I've been given, and then begin to discern, oh, so what is the calling that's attached to these gifts? I can sing. And people have confirmed that, right? Like they cry when I sing, or they get excited when I sing, or there's something about my voice that moves them. What is that, right? How is that a reflection of the calling that's on my life? What can I do positively in this world? I bake, I garden. What can I do positively in this world to impact others through my gift?
Mm-hmm. I don't want to call it a secret, but I do want to ask how it is, given that we've established now that we believe that there is a divine calling, there is a God dream over every one of our lives. I asked that question not at all rhetorically, because I wanted the audience to hear your response, but I already knew where I was on that question, because one of my favorite parables is the parable of the talents, which I ain't got time to get into. But every one of us is given a gift.
Google it.
No, I could work that thing out if I had the time. But it's one of my favorite parables. These parables are really just didactic narratives. But I love the story of the parables. Each of these persons, all three of them, are given gifts, as the Bible says, according to their own ability. And I've used that parable many times in speeches, and just drawn so many lessons that we can take from that particular parable. But the essential lesson is that every one of those persons were given a gift. They were given those gifts, again, according to their own ability, and they were not all given the same gifts or the same number of gifts. And so there's so many ways I could, just unpack that thing if I had the time. My point is that now that we've established in this conversation that every one of us does, in fact, have a divine calling on our lives, now that we've established every one of us does, in fact, have a God dream for our lives, when we come forward with the author, Edwina Findley Dickerson, I want to ask her how then we go about discovering that God dream. I don't think it's necessarily a secret, but how do we go about discovering the God dream that she declares is on the life of every one of us listening to this conversation right now? The book is called The World is Waiting for You. As I said earlier, love that title. The subtitle, Embrace Your Calling and Manifest the God Dream Over Your Life. We'll get to that question about how we go about discovering the God dream for our lives when we come forward with Edwina Findley Dickerson on Tavis Smiley.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Black Mayor Brandon Johnson blast President Trump's threat to send the National Guard to Chicago.
It has never come up. It never came up during the campaign. It's never come up in the first 2 years. The fact of the matter is we are driving violence down in this city.
They called it unconstitutional and a distraction from real solutions to crime. Black Congressman Benny Thompson of Mississippi is urging a federal probe into the hanging death of Black 21-year-old DeMartravion Trey Reed, calling it suspicious despite no signs of foul play. Civil rights attorney Ben Crump is now representing the family. And on this day in 1862, the Battle of Antietam became the deadliest one-day clash in U.S. military history, with over 22,000 casualties. The Union victory gave President Lincoln the momentum to issue the preliminary Emancipation Proclamation. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
San Diego's events calendar is full of flavor. Dig into local wine and food festivals, treat the family to kid-inspired deals all October, and get a taste of glory at the Breeders' Cup World Championship. Plan your trip now at sandiego.org/awesome all year. Funded in part with City of San Diego Tourism Marketing District Assessment Fund.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
I'm a bad man.
The Dodgers had a very frustrating night at Dodger Stadium last night. Shohei Ohtani had a no-hitter against Philadelphia through the first 5 innings, while the Dodgers built a 4-0 lead. Because Ohtani is on the pitch count after major surgery on his right shoulder, Dodgers manager Dave Roberts replaced Ohtani after the 5th inning. A 4-0 lead turned into a 9-6 loss for the Dodgers. 3 relievers gave up 9 runs after Ohtani's departure. Dodgers fans booed Roberts when he walked to the mound to make a pitching change in the 7th. They wanted to see Ohtani make a run at a no-hitter. The only bright spot for Dodgers fans was seeing Ohtani hit his 50th homer of the season. The Angels lost in Milwaukee last night 9-2. The loss eliminated the Angels from playoff contention in the American League and dropped their record to 69-82. The Angels have not made the playoffs since 2014. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
Are you ready to be a part of the conversation that will help shape our nation's future? Get ready to join us for the Left Coast Forum, Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech, where progressive voices will come together to tackle the issues that matter most to working families across Los Angeles and beyond. From economic justice to climate action, from healthcare to housing, we're bringing together the brightest minds and most passionate advocates for real solutions and real change. With workshops, 2 major keynote addresses, and a closing reception with great music and good food. It's the Left Coast Forum, where your voice matters and your ideas take action. Saturday, October 25th at LA Trade Tech. Brought to you by KBLA Talk 1580 and the LA Progressive. The future won't wait, and neither should you. Mark your calendar now to be there and be heard. Stay tuned to KBLA Talk 1580 for more details.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know the United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time? Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
With Robinhood, not only can you trade individual stocks and ETFs, you can also seamlessly buy and sell crypto at low costs. Trade all in one place. Get started now on Robinhood. Trading crypto involves significant risk. Crypto trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Crypto LLC. Robinhood Crypto is licensed to engage in virtual currency business activity by the New York State Department of Financial Services. Crypto held through Robinhood Crypto is not FDIC insured or SIPC protected. Investing involves risk, including loss of principal. Securities trading is offered through an account with Robinhood Financial LLC, member SIPC, a registered broker-dealer.
Hey, KBLA 1580 delegation, your health matters to us. We know that information is power, especially when it comes to prevention and treatment. That's why we're proud to introduce the brand new KBLA Health and Wellness Hub. This online space is built just for you, connecting our community to trusted health resources, culturally relevant care, and even access to diverse clinical trials and emerging therapies. Whether you're looking for information on common conditions, mental health support, or just want to stay on top of your wellness journey, we got you. And the best part, it's all on our website at KBLA1580.com. Accessible, empowering, community-focused. So just go to KBLA1580.com and click on the Health and Wellness Hub icon, because knowledge is power and your health is everything. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Let's get back to more of this rich dialogue with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis, Smiley, and Edwina Findley Dickerson, who is the author of the new book, The World is Waiting for You. Embrace your calling and manifest the God dream over your life. So we established earlier in this conversation, in case you just are now tuning in, that every one of us has a divine calling on our lives. Every one of us has, in fact, a God dream. The question is how we go about discovering what that God dream is, Edwina.
Yes. So in The World is Waiting for You, I really start with vision. So one of the early chapters is called Unleash Your Vision. And a part of why I do that is because sometimes we don't necessarily know what our God dream is yet. Sometimes we don't know exactly what our calling is yet, but we know that there's a vision in us. And it may not even be that clear, right? But we know that there's just something more, right? And so one of the first steps that I encourage people to take in the book is take the limits off. If you could dream, if you could dream as far and wide as you possibly could, what would it look like? So lots of people have vision boards. I told Oprah, some people have vision boards. I have a vision book. And I started that vision book when I was 23 years old. And at that time, I literally started it because I was afraid to dream. I was afraid to dream. I was afraid to set goals because I was afraid of failure. And I thought that if I don't tell anyone what I secretly am hoping for or desiring in life, then I won't fail, right? Because I never put myself out there and I never fully tried. But once I broke free of that fear, I realized, no, there's power in setting that type of vision. And some of that is also based on the scripture, Ephesians 3:20. Now unto him who's able to do exceeding abundantly above all we can ask or think. And some translations say, or imagine, according to the power that's at work in us. So when you start with the heights of your own dream, and no one's watching, right? In the book, I take you through a process of unlocking and unleashing your vision. It's just for you. It may seem crazy, outlandish, too big. Know that if that's the height of your vision, the God dream is even bigger. It's even bigger. It surpasses what you can see. So starting there, taking the limits off, but then also tapping into, like we said in our last segment, tapping into your gifts. What part of this have you been gifted to do? And then also, what are the things that have been tugging at you? Most of us, we know that feeling when there's something on the inside that's been tugging, pulling, like there's a tension between where we are and where our spirit is telling us we belong. There was a tension when I was living in low-income housing in New York City. When my income was at the poverty line, there was a tension between where I was, but what I saw in the spirit. I saw Hollywood, I saw mansions, I saw celebrities, I saw red carpets. But that's real different from the rats and the rodents on the train. Complete opposite, right? But I had to give myself the room and space to dream. And that's where we have to begin, but also the calling part. And that's the interesting part, right? Because calling literally comes from a word, vocare, which is literally to call. And it's almost like somebody called you on the phone and called you. Well, after a while, you got to pick up, or if anything else, is there's no way to deny that there's a call that's coming and coming and coming and coming. And I don't know about you, but my experience has been that when I've been called to do things, there's this internal tug that won't let me rest until I start to put one foot in front of the other.
Yeah.
And sometimes that calling is connected to some form of discontentment. So there's the dreaming, there's the gift, but there's also what I call in the book, holy discontent. What is that thing that keeps you up at night? What is that thing that when you see it happening, you cry or you grieve, or you get mad or upset or angry? It evokes, or you become enormously jubilant, right? That thing in this world that when you see it happen, it either gives you great joy or great sadness or great anger, right? A lot of times, like, there's people that will complain about something. Now, when people complain to me consistently about the same thing, I start to say, are you sure that's not part of your calling? You want everybody else to take care of that thing. Why does this thing exist? How come people are this, that? Well, maybe that's a part of your calling. Maybe you've been sensitized to that thing for a reason. For a reason. Just like I shared, I'm sensitized to soul care for entertainment professionals and young artists and aspiring artists. Everybody's not sensitized to that, nor am I expecting them to be. But that's a part of the unique, what I call in the book, your God print, right? Your gift mix. What's that combination of unique things that were placed inside of you that were meant to be drawn out of you and given to the world?
Speaking of giving to the world, put a pin in. I want to come back to that just in literally 10 seconds or 30 seconds rather. When you get the book, it's called, again, The World's Waiting for You, Embrace Your Calling and Manifest the God Dream Over Your Life. She's talked about this, but I just want to put a finer point on it. There is, in fact, a chapter 3, which is titled Unleash Your Vision, which Edwina was talking about a moment ago. There is also a chapter called Unlock Your Calling, which Edwina was talking about a moment ago. So these are chapter titles. It's impossible, as I say all the time, to do justice to a book in a 60-minute conversation. So I'm just trying to underscore some of these things that you're going to get when you get in the book. But there are 2 chapters specifically written about those things that she was just addressing. Unleash Your Vision is chapter 3. The chapter 7 is called Unlock Your Calling. And then she went into some of chapter 8 a moment ago. That chapter is titled What's Holding You Back? What's Holding You Back? And she was talking about that a moment ago. I want to fast forward into the book. I'm looking at my clock here. Let me set this up right now. And when we come forward, I'll let Edwina unpack this part. So there's a part of the book that I found fascinating where she talks about crafting your personal mission statement. Crafting your personal mission statement. And she writes, start with the big picture. In fact, there's a graph. I think I can call it a graph. There's a chart. There's a chart, is a better word, in this chapter, in this section about crafting your personal mission statement. There is a chart that says start with the big picture. And these are some of the questions that come underneath starting with the big picture. What am I passionate about? Who am I called to serve? What transformative impact do I want to see in the world? And there are other questions following those. But the one I want to focus on, given what she's just said a moment ago, is this question about who am I called to serve? It's one thing to know that we have a God dream, that every one of us has a divine calling on our lives. It's another thing to then unleash that vision and to unlock that calling and to get beyond whatever is holding us back. But then the question becomes, so who am I called to serve? That's what I want to wrestle with when we come forward with Edwina Findley Dickerson on Tavis.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte. Let's preserve Black land stories before they're lost forever. I want to personally invite you to be a part of something historic. As journalist in residence for the Black Land Loss Narrative Archive Project, I've joined forces with powerhouse attorney and social justice champion George Fothery, the man who helped make history by delivering justice to the Bruce family in Manhattan Beach, securing the first known return of land unjustly taken from Black owners by a local government. That victory was monumental, but it was just the beginning. For generations, Black families have acquired land through grit, faith, and determination, only to lose it through violence, legal loopholes, forced sales, and systematic racism. What's been taken goes far beyond dirt and deeds. It's the erasure of wealth, identity, and legacy. That's why we've launched the Black Land Loss Narrative Archive Project, a national effort to collect, protect, and preserve the stories of Black land loss before they're buried, forgotten, or erased altogether. Because there's power in telling Black stories, there is resistance in remembering, and there's justice in being seen and heard. This is where you come in. We're inviting you to be a part of this historic Black narrative archive. If you or someone you know has experienced land loss, displacement, or forced property sales, your story deserves to be heard and remembered. Your story belongs in this archive. Your truth matters not just to your family, but to our collective future. Visit blacklandloss.org today. Fill out our simple intake form and add your voice to the National Archive of Remembrance, Resilience, and Reckoning. Let's make these stories live on, not in whispers, but on the record. With a KBLA Talk 1580 editorial, I'm Dr. Nicolai Corte, and as always, we welcome your feedback.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month.
If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed with award-winning actress Edwina Findley Dickerson, who has a new book out with a foreword by Viola Davis. The book is called The World is Waiting for You. Embrace Your Calling and Manifest the God Dream Over Your Life. I've discussed this so many times in so many talks and speeches and appearances over the years, Edwina, but my view is simply this, that every one of us, I feel similarly to you. Every one of us has a divine calling on our lives. Every one of us has a God dream. Every one of us has been given a gift or gifts. And I explain it very simply like this. Every one of us has a gift. And there's no reason for God to endow us with gifts if there is no need for that gift. So if you have a gift, there's a need for it. You're supposed to serve somebody with that gift. So for every gift, there is a corresponding need. And when that gift connects with its need, then you are living a life of purpose. There's a gift and there's a need for that gift. Somebody's to be served by that gift. And when your gift, again, connects with its need, now you are living, as I see it, a life of purpose. But it raises the question. So if I acknowledge the gift, then I got to wrestle with who I am called to serve. And you wrestle with that. You address that rather in the text. Talk to me about how we discover who we are called to serve with our gifts.
Sure. And, and I thank you for highlighting that part in the book, right? And that chapter about unlocking your calling, because, one of the quotes that really inspired me is your vocation in life is where your greatest joy meets the world's greatest need. Mm-hmm. And that's Frederick Bruckner. And literally, most people don't know that, but the word vocation, a lot of times we think, oh, then that's my career, right? Vocation is my career. Vocation is my profession. But vocation, the very word vocation, comes from the word vocare, which literally means to call. To call. So essentially your vocation in life, whether it's your job or whether it's your purpose, is designed to be in response to your calling. And a lot of times we can encounter who we're called to serve by just paying attention to who's around us. I talked in the last segment about your holy discontent, right? And I think about people like Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., right? If we were to unpack his life, you know, growing up, I'm sure coming from a long line of ministers, as a gift, he had a gift of ministry, a gift of preaching. Okay, that's your gift, right? But then that gift met a people. Okay, well, his context was predominantly African-American at that time, African-American churches, people. His context was also Southern, right? But then the gift encountered people, and then it also encountered a God dream or a calling, which ended up not only being to preach to them in their gift, but to literally deliver them from racism, from oppression, from inequality that was happening. And so God used his gift of pastoring, his gift of caring about people, his gift of empathy, his gift of motivation and charisma, and revelation and insight for a larger, much, much, much larger calling, which was to begin a whole worldwide movement of people. And so sometimes the who you're called to serve is progressive. Sometimes you just begin with where you are and what you have. You know, for me, when I was living in low income housing, I didn't have much, but I started in my kitchen. I started making meals for the homeless people that I saw outside in the park. Then I started making meals for the homeless people I saw on the train. Then I started going and volunteering at homeless shelters because I felt a holy discontent that started with people. You know, I didn't see the bigger picture at that time. I just knew that the people that I'm seeing feel defeated. The people that I'm seeing feel lost as far as life, and they don't know what way to turn. I didn't know that, okay, it's starting with the homeless people that are right outside my window, and then it's progressing to the ones that I see on the train. But really, it's about lives going from there all the way to Hollywood. There's a divine thread that I was meant to help people who, whatever stage they were in life, whatever economic, you know, and social place they found themselves in life, but that felt a certain element of feeling stuck, or feeling like there's more for them in life, or feeling like they just need some inspiration to burst out of where they are to where they're called to go.
No, I believe, as do you, that your gift will make room for itself. You start working that gift, and it will expand and it will grow. And those who you are serving, that audience will expand and grow. I am Exhibit A. Well, Exhibit A was Dr. King. I am no Dr. King, but I've experienced that in my own life and career. You start here, working the gift that God gave you. It makes room for itself. Your audience, those who you are serving, just grows and grows and grows. And you start right where you are. As Edwina said, we used to sing a song about a little Pentecostal church that popped in my head when she was making that comment. And the song just says very simply, brighten the corner where you are, right where you are. Just brighten that corner. Our remaining moments with Edwina Findley Dickerson when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
See website for details. Bills Happen is not a lender and does not make credit decisions. Hey, bills happen. So when you need extra cash fast, go to billshappen.com. Have you been turned down? Are your credit cards maxed out? Do you have bad credit? Go to billshappen.com. All you need is a job and a checking account. You can find a lender and get up to $5,000 cash as early as tomorrow at billshappen.com. Billshappen.com is the smart way to get a personal lender now. So if you need extra money for car repairs, medical bills, family emergencies, whatever you need cash for, go to billshappen.com and you can get the money you need as soon as the next day, up to $5,000. At billshappen.com, our process is safe, secure, and all online. No one to deal with in person. And Bills Happen does not charge you any fees to use our service. It's easy. When you need a lender, just remember, when bills happen, go to billshappen.com. Billshappen.com for the cash you need now. Billshappen.com.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I got a tight 2 minutes here, Edwina. I'll give these last 2 minutes to you, but I want to close on this note. There are 2 chapters in this book that I think are an appropriate place to close our dialogue today. Chapter 2 is called You Are a Star, and chapter 9 is titled Plan Like a Rock Star. Your final thoughts on the fact that every one of us is, in fact, a star.
Absolutely. You know, you said it best when you talked about that old song, right? About
right in the corner
of the world.
Yeah.
Right? Like we are all meant to shine. And I think a lot of times we hear the word star and we think, oh, someone rich, someone famous, someone beautiful, someone with lots of followers, you know, but the truth is that we all have a light. We have a light that we're meant to collectively light up this world with. So you are a star. And so what does that look like? Letting that light shine. And I don't just mean in a very general way. That chapter that you just referenced, Planning Like a Rock Star, well, what does that look like? When you bring together, when you get the book, you'll see. When you start to unleash your vision and unlock your calling, when you tap into the secret power of hearing God's voice, when you begin to confront what's holding you back, well, now you're going to set your sight on what does this next year look like. Chapter 10 is called This Time Next Year.
Yep.
And it is you being inspired and encouraged to look ahead and literally prophesy your next 365 days. Where do I want my life to be by this time next year? And begin to plan like a rock star. Work in reverse. What do I need to do from this time to that to make sure that I'm partnering with God to manifest the fullness of what I'm believing for in my God dream?
The book is called The World is Waiting for You. Embrace Your Calling and Manifest the God Dream Over Your Life, with the forward by Viola Davis. I've enjoyed this hour immensely. Edwina Findley Dickerson, thank you for your work and your witness. Thank you for this conversation. I deeply appreciate you.
Thank you so much. And everyone, you can go to theworldiswaiting.org. There's a community, God Dreamers Academy, Abundant Life University, the book. We're going to, this time next year, our lives are going to be completely different than what they are now. So I'm excited to connect with all of you.
Back here tomorrow.
And thank you, Tavis, for having me.
Oh, no, my great honor. Thank you for coming on. I deeply appreciate you. Just like that, 3 hours gone. Back here tomorrow, Lord willing, to do it all over again. Until tomorrow, thanks for tuning in to Tavis Smiley. And as always, keep the faith.
Sweet, I ain't got time to wait.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker and Black Mayor Brandon Johnson blast President Trump's threat to send the National Guard to Chicago.
It has never come up. It never came up during the campaign.